Hey everyone! In our last video, we explored what virtual threads are and how they differ from platform threads. Today we will dive into using virtual threads in a Spring Boot application and compare the performance of APIs using virtual threads versus platform threads. If you missed the previous video on virtual threads, be sure to check it out. Let's get started. In this example, I have created a simple Spring Boot application featuring a basic entity called example entity. Additionally, I have set up a repository class and a controller class to enable our APIs to access data from the database. And for this project, I am using the in-memory H2 database. As you see, our test controller class exposes a get endpoint, which fetches all the data from the example entity. Now let's try to run this application and see how platform thread handles this request. On checking our logs, the log entry shows that the request is handled by a thread from the HTTP executor pool on port 8080 with a priority of 5 and it belongs to the main thread group. Now let's see how to enable virtual threads in the Spring Boot application. There are two ways to enable virtual threads. First, if you are using Java 19 with the Spring Framework 6, you can create a custom configuration class and define a bean of type Tomcat Protocol Handler Customizer. We can use factory method executors dot new virtual thread per task executor to use the virtual threads. And if you are using Spring Boot version 3.2 or higher with Java 21, you can easily enable virtual threads by setting the property spring.threads.virtual.enable to true. Now let's try to run this program and try to hit this endpoint once more. If you notice the logs, we can see that virtual threads are used to handle the API request and no traditional platform threads are serving this request. By enabling virtual threads, each API request will be executed in a new thread. Virtual thread enhances scalability and reduces resource consumption compared to traditional platform threads. Now it's time to compare the performance of virtual thread and platform thread. We will use the JMeter tool for performance testing. First, we will disable virtual threads and measure the API performance with JMeter. Now we can create a new project in JMeter named platform thread versus virtual thread. Now we can create a new thread group named API performance. And we can configure number of threads, that is users to 1000, and we can keep ramp up to 1 second, and we can have our loop count to 5. So in summary, this setting simulates 1000 users with a loop count of 5, resulting in a total of 5000 requests. Now we will configure the HTTP request named example API with protocol HTTP and IP as localhost and port number 8080. And finally with the path/example. Now we can create a new listener response time graph, which is used to record the response time of an API. We can name it as platform thread, and we can set our interval to 1000. And finally, we can run this and see the response time. To complete all the requests, it took around 25 seconds. You can see the response time graph as it keeps on increasing and stays at 5 seconds as the average response time. Now let's try to test the same API with virtual threads. Now let's create a new listener to record the response time graph. We can use the same settings as before and we can run and see the result. As you see, virtual threads just took 5 seconds to complete all the requests and the average response time stays at 1 second. This demonstrates that virtual threads can handle a large number of requests concurrently. However, while virtual threads can enhance performance for a non-blocking IO operation, they may not be suitable for blocking operations. These limitations should be considered when deciding whether to use virtual threads in your Spring Boot application. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more similar content. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we post a new video. See you next time.